Hello everyone, and welcome to another one of my new moon meditation circles, the recorded version. Happy new moon to you all, and depending on when you're watching this, it might already be past the new moon, but that's okay because the main point of these meditations is to allow ourselves a little bit of mindfulness and self-care. So that's what we're really wanting to work on today. For those of you who don't know, I normally do these in person, and I just recently have moved to doing a recorded version online, just so people can easily watch these in their homes and take advantage of them that way if they're unable to make it in person. But I do hope maybe later on into the summer I can get back to doing some in-person meetings as well. So this specific meditation circle that I do is all of the content comes through the Wild Woman's Project, and if you are interested in learning more about them, you can at www.thewildwomansproject.com. They've got some really great offerings of their own on there, but specifically right now for this meditation I will be using their contents. So I won't be going through a full circle. It will be a little bit different, obviously, since this is a recording if you are used to my in-person circle. But we will get through most of it, and I hope you enjoy. This is a donation-based offering, so if you feel moved to donate financially, you'll be able to find my Venmo information in the comment section below the video. But if you can't donate financially, I would really appreciate a like, a share, maybe sharing this video to your social media or with friends or with family. So yeah, there's not really any rules for this. I would recommend that you maybe pause now and get really comfortable. You might like to have like blankets or a yoga mat or pillows, whatever you're gonna feel the most comfortable with and like to meditate with. You might even want to grab some crystals or incense or essential oils, whatever you like and are gonna make you feel comfortable. I would also recommend you have a journal or a notebook of some kind and a writing utensil so that you can record anything that you might get out of this that you might want to remember later. So if you need to pause the video right now, grab a few things, set up your space, please do, and then we will go ahead and get started. If you do want to grab a candle for our little candle lighting opening, then you can do that as well. So go ahead and just pause here and then we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing I always like to do to signify the beginning of circle is to light a candle. So if you have a candle, you can light it with me now. Let this flame represent the wild spirit that burns within each of us. And as we awaken our own wild spirit, we awaken the collective spirit. We'll get started with just a simple centering. And for this, you can either lay down if that makes you feel more comfortable, or you can sit up in a traditional meditation position with your legs crossed and the sits bones ground into the floor, letting the hands just lay heavy on the knees. But get wherever you feel most comfortable. Once you feel like you're in that position, take a big inhale and then exhale to close the eyes. And just allow yourself to be still in this moment. Allowing yourself to be fully present Not thinking about anything you've done during the day so far or anything you have to do later. Just simply being right here in this moment. Feeling the ground beneath you. Feeling the air on your skin. And start to pull your focus inward. Noticing how your body feels. Maybe we start to focus our attention on our natural breath. You don't have to change this breath in any way, just noticing it, concentrating on the inhales and the exhales. Using it as a focus and an anchor for our awareness. And any time that you feel the mind begin to wander, you can always focus in back on your breath, pulling your intention back inward. And as you continue to breathe, you might begin to notice that the exhales just start to lengthen and slow, letting them drag out just a little bit longer. Being in no rush. And as those exhales lengthen and slow, you might notice your inhales beginning to deepen, allowing in more clean energy, clean breath into the body. Feeling the breath travel down into the chest. Maybe even further down into the low belly. Maybe now you begin to take some of the longest, deepest breaths that you have taken all day. With every exhale, allowing tension to release out of the body and into the earth beneath you. Now on your next inhale, maybe begin to pull all of that energy and breath and that new prana that you are bringing in and bring it up into the head space. Might take a few inhales to direct that attention there. But once you have arrived in your head space, just simply observe. Don't try to change or control it in any way. Just notice how it is in this current moment. Maybe you see colors or pictures. Maybe there is a lot going on, or maybe not anything at all, and it's okay. It can be anything, but just observe what it is in this moment. Now, on your next inhale, begin to pull that breath and that awareness down from the head space into the heart space. You might once again take a few breaths to get it there. But create a pathway connecting yourself, your mind, and your body. And once you're fully present in the heart space, once again be an observer here. Not trying to change or control, just paying attention to what state your heart space is in this current moment. Remembering to breathe, inhales and exhales. And now, finally, take a moment to use your breath, use your inhales to connect to whatever it is that you hold as divine. This could be a higher power, a force within the universe, or maybe even just a force within yourself. But whatever it is that is divine to you, go ahead and make a connection here. Fully connecting the mind, the body, and the spirit. Taking a few more of those deep belly breaths, gently allowing yourself to return back to your natural breath. Staying here in this moment as long as you need. But whenever you are ready, gently allowing the eyes to peek open. Maybe offering a little bit of movement to your body. And then I want you, if you feel moved, to pause the video here for a moment and turn towards your journal. Maybe making notes about anything that came to you through centering. Maybe what your mind and your heart space looked like, or anything else that you might want to remember for later or be able to look back on. Just pause the video, and when you're ready, we'll come back and continue on. Okay, so now we are going to move along, and I want to just practice a quick moment of breath work before we head deeper into our main meditation. Breath work, or pranayama, is a great way to honor this time with the new moon, and I'll explain that a little bit more in a moment. But the reason we do the Wild Woman Project meditations at the new moon time, because the new moon is actually, in fact, a point where there's no light or no energy within the moon, right? It's completely empty, and so it's ready to start a brand new cycle, building and building and building this energy to the full moon. And then it'll begin to let go of that used energy, coming all the way back down to the next new moon, ready to start a new cycle. So this is a great time to do these meditations and set intentions for ourselves, new intentions moving forward. And so just like the moon cycle, a special kind of pranayama called a boxed breath pranayama is a perfect way to kind of mirror that moon cycle. So the way you do this, if you choose to do this, if not, continue to just sit with your deep belly breaths. But if you would like to participate, we'll completely empty out our breath and choose a number, maybe 4, 6, or 8. And we'll inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. And at the top of the breath, we'll pause for that count. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll exhale to let that energy go for 1, 2, 3, 4. And at the bottom of the breath, we'll pause once more, completely empty, for a count of 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you would like to practice this breath, you can practice it now, maybe pausing the video even if you feel like you would like to sit with it for a little while. But you inhale the breath just as you would the growing moon, waxing the energy, growing it up, working to the top of that breath. Your lungs are completely full of air, just like the full moon. Pausing here, and then when you exhale, you're releasing that energy, releasing it, coming all the way back down to an empty lung, just like the new moon. So choosing whatever number you would like to breathe to, go ahead and take a moment to pause here and maybe practice a few rounds of that even breath boxed pranayama. And as you're ready to complete this pranayama practice, just begin to return back to the deep belly breaths and then back to your natural breath. We will move along. I'm going to introduce our theme and introduce our poet. So this is, as I said, a meditation that the content comes from the Wild Woman Projects. And each season they start a new series. And so right now we are within the series Path of the Poets, where every moon cycle and each new moon time we draw inspiration from a different prolific female poet. So this month is the new moon in Taurus. So before I introduce our poet, I'm going to just give you a few little tidbits on Taurus if you're into the astrological calendar. So Taurus is the second astrological sign, and it is symbolized by the symbol of the bull. And it's associated with the earth element, so very grounding and stabilizing. And then it is ruled by the planet Venus. So some traits for Taurus, like I said, they really like routine and stability. So this is a great time for you to maybe look at your schedule, or if you've been feeling hectic, maybe trying to come back to some kind of routine or ritual. They're also the sign of love, so it's a time of love and creativity, of sensuality. They're hardworking and dependable, and then, like I said, grounded as well. So those are all things to maybe keep in mind during this cycle and as we set our intentions moving forward. And this new moon in Taurus is inspired, this meditation rather, is inspired by the prolific poet Nikki Giovanni. So she is an African American poet, and one thing that I think is really cool, just for my life, and some of my regular in-person circlers too that might not know this, she is actually from Knoxville, Tennessee, where I am. So I think that is a really cool little fact about her. But she is an amazing poet, a writer, activist, and an educator. She teaches at I don't remember which college she teaches at, but she does teach poetry at a university. And she began her poetry in a time of the civil rights movements and the black arts movements. So a lot of her work is kind of themed and empowered by that. She's won several awards, including the Langston Hughes Medal. So she's very accomplished and her work is wonderful. So if you do have a moment, I would suggest maybe researching her a little bit more, especially if you are one of my in-person circlers that usually comes. It's kind of really neat that she is from our area. So we are specifically going to be looking at her poem, Mothers. So I'm going to read the poem to you, and then we'll talk a little bit about a few threads of theme in the poem that's going to inspire the meditation. And then if you want to pause at any time and maybe take a deeper look at the poem yourself as well, but I am going to read it to you first. So this is Mothers by Nikki Giovanni. The last time I was home to see my mother we kissed, exchanged pleasantries and unpleasantries, pulled a warm, comforting silence around us and read separate books. I remember the first time I consciously saw her. We were living in a 3-room apartment on Burns Avenue. Mommy always sat in the dark. I don't know how I knew that, but she did. That night I stumbled into the kitchen, maybe because I've always been a night person, or perhaps because I had wet the bed. She was sitting on a chair. The room was bathed in moonlight diffused through those thousands of panes landlords who rented to those people with children who were prone to put into windows. She may have been smoking, but maybe not. Her hair was 3/4 her height, which made me a strong believer in the Samson myth, and very black. I'm sure I just hung there by the door. I remember thinking, what a beautiful lady. She was deliberately waiting, perhaps for my father to come home from his night job, or maybe for a dream that had promised to come "Come here," she said, "I'll teach you a poem. I see the moon sees me. God bless the moon, and God bless me. I taught it to my son, who recited it for her, just to say we must learn to bear the pleasures as we have borne the pains." And that was the poem Mothers by Nikki Giovanni from her collection My House. And I will read it again to you a little bit before our meditation so you can take it in again. But if you want to pause the video now and read over the poem for yourself, I'm going to show it on the screen here, and you can pause, and then we will continue on. So a few themes here that you might want to consider or think about is when you look at these really special relationships between a child figure and a mother figure, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a biological mother and child. You know, it could be someone in your life who is a teacher, a friend, or just someone who has taken up that kind of role in your life. But when you have a special relationship like that, there's so many dynamics to the relationship. And so you see that kind of shown within her poem at the beginning when she's talking about exchanging pleasantries, but then also unpleasantries. But these unpleasantries create still a warm silence where they sit and read books. It's also kind of shown at the end of the poem where she quotes, "We bear the pleasures as much as we bore the pains." There's also a great sense of innocence here within the poem as she recalls this first time kind of seeing, like really seeing her mom, or her mother, or mommy as she calls her. And you're kind of seeing this through the eyes of a child. It's like seeing something brand new for the first time. And that's another great thing with the Path of the Poets that we're doing, that we're walking on, is seeing things through the eyes of a poet and seeing it how they would see it and how they would put it into this really beautiful written word. And then finally also, I think there's a great message of learning from the people who came before us, having that connection to ancestors and having that connection shape our lives and who we are, because her mom taught her this little poem about the moon and she became a poet later in life. So I think that's a couple of things we can kind of think on and dwell on once we get more into our main meditation here momentarily. First, before we do that, there is always one thing I like to do before moving into that meditation. A little bit of a journaling moment is we, in my in-person circles, we always draw an oracle card. And if you've never worked with oracle cards before, they're not future telling devices, they're not magic, even though sometimes they can feel magical, but they're simply a jumping off point for your intuition. More than likely, what you get out of a card, you already know deep down inside you, you just haven't spoken it yet, or you just haven't realized that truth. So it's almost like a journaling prompt for your inner self, for working things out with yourself. So normally in circle, we all usually choose our own cards that speak to us and then journal about them for a few moments. But obviously, since we are not together, we can't do that. So if you have an oracle card deck that you own at home and would like to pause me now and maybe spend some time with your own deck, or if not, I am going to just pull a collective card for the community here, and then we can all kind of go off of that card. So today I am using a deck I'm really excited about. I've been wanting it for a while now, and it's the Rumi Oracle deck from Alana Fairchild. Rumi is one of my favorite poets, and I think it's just fitting that we use the Rumi Oracle card during a meditation that is inspired by poetry. So I'm gonna shuffle this deck and then draw a card for us that is going to just represent our community. And when you look at whatever card it is that is drawn, I'm going to read to you out of the guidebook what the artist's intended purpose was for the card. But first, I'd like you to take the card in for yourself and not just looking at the words, but looking at the imagery, the colors, maybe any numbers. And just see what it stirs inside you. See what comes to you. Something might jump out right away, or it might not make sense right now, but later on within the moon cycle, you might have something happen or come to you and you're like, oh my goodness, it was that card. So I'm gonna make a drawing just asking for the perfect card for our community today. All right, so the card I've drawn is the Angel of Rosbar. So if you want to pause it and take in the imagery, go ahead and pause now. And then turn to your journal and make any notes about it that you might want to remember, anything that comes to you. Okay. And I will post a picture of this on my Facebook and my Instagram page so that you can come back to it and look at it a little bit more if you need to. I'm going to, now that you have gotten what you felt from the card put into your journal, I'm going to read to you the intended explanation from the author here. So here are the bars from Rumi that inspired this card. Tell me the truth, I asked love. What are you? I am the everlasting life, love said. I am the recurring joy of living. So here is what the author added for the card. Divine contribution is offered to those who wish to contribute to the world. The great beloved sees what is in your heart, what is your wish to offer, and is saying yes. So you are being empowered to serve, to assist, to offer a genuine spiritual contribution to this planet, to become a sacred hand at work for the will of the divine. Such is the capacity bestowed upon the soul that is wise and filled with love, and therefore desiring to serve. So then, do not doubt yourself. You have been blessed with this by the Master to find the precious jewel of your own soul and to claim it. Cast aside your doubts. Yet perhaps this is not easy for you to do. Perhaps you look at the world, even your chosen field of endeavor, and already you hear so many voices speaking. You may wonder if your own contribution would simply add noise to a cacophony. You may wonder if you can really help, if you have anything genuine to add, or if there is just too much noise already. You may hesitate and become fearful. Do not despair. It is part of your divine destiny to add something of great value to the world, something that has its place even amongst all the activity, something needed absolutely in the hearts of all. That precious gift is the true silence. The true silence is peace. It is the living experience of the eternal love of the divine that asks nothing but to be received and gives of itself unconditionally. And so there's a lot more to this from the author, and I will post that along with a picture of that card in my Instagram and my Facebook page, like I said earlier. But I do want to go ahead and move into our main meditation, inspired by the poem Mothers from Nikki Giovanni. So if you need a moment to get comfortable, again, if you're more comfortable laying down, please do. Or if you would prefer to take a more traditional seat of meditation by grounding the sits bones into the floor, crossing the legs, maybe placing the hands on the knees or anywhere else you feel most comfortable. And we'll go ahead and begin when you are ready. So if you need to pause here and get settled, please do, and then join me back here. As you settle in to your space, I'm going to read the poem Mothers one more time to you and just let it wash over you. And then I'll continue on into our meditation practice. So again, this is Mothers by Nikki Giovanni. The last time I was home to see my mother, we kissed, exchanged pleasantries and unpleasantries, pulled warm, comforting silence around us, and read separate books. I remember the first time I consciously saw her. We were living in a 3-room apartment on Burns Avenue. Mommy always sat in the dark. I don't know how I knew that, but she did. That night I stumbled into the kitchen, maybe because I've always been a night person, or perhaps because I wet the bed. She was sitting on a chair. The room was bathed in moonlight, diffused through those thousands of panes landlords who rented to people with children were prone to put in windows. She may have been smoking, but maybe not. Her hair was 3/4 her height, which made a strong believer in the Samson myth, and very black. I'm sure I just hung there by the door. I remember thinking, what a beautiful lady. She was very deliberately waiting, perhaps for my father to come home from his night job, or maybe for a dream that had promised to come by. Come here, she said. I'll teach you a poem. I see the moon sees me. God bless the moon, and God bless me. I taught it to my son, who recited it to her, just to say we must learn to bear the pleasures as we have borne the pains. So as you lie or sit wherever you are in your own space, allow yourself to let your flesh relax into the position that you are in. Taking a big breath in, and on the exhale, closing the eyes if they're not closed already. Taking 3 conscious waves of breath in and out, and in and out, in and out. Slowly bringing yourself back inward and back in towards those deep belly breaths with no rush to get there. Taking your time, being kind to your body and kind to your breath. Inhale and exhale. The breath cycle constantly goes around and around and around, reminding us that it all keeps flowing and going, teaching us something about life and time, something about who we are as part of nature. Inhaling and exhaling, remembering to use that breath as an anchor and a focus. Saying yes to any guidance that wants to come through during this practice, but returning to the breath if ever it becomes out of control. And taking a moment here to acknowledge that we are all different, and we will all take in this meditation in different ways. Inhale and exhale. For some of us, we will see an image or hear a phrase or feel things emotionally or energetically. And sometimes it might even just be a knowing that sweeps in and through the body. So we just say yes and embrace that mysterious diversity of experience that we all get to share through this meditation. Inhale and exhale, feeling the breath flow cleanly through the body. If it feels comfortable to you, from this space that you're in now, call into your awareness either your mother or someone who was like a mother to you, a friend, a teacher, a grandparent, an aunt. Wherever they might be, whether it's on this plane of existence or the next, just allow yourself for a moment to feel what it feels like to have your attention upon them, what it feels like to sense them and to see them. gaze upon the human being that they are or that they were, flawed as any of us are, but full of gifts and bearing scars. For some, this relationship is sacred. It's a primal relationship and a foundational relationship. And as with all relationships, it has a dynamic quality to it. Relationships can be the greatest gifts, and at another moment feel like a prison. If we sat here all day, we couldn't possibly name the many kinds of experiences that a parent figure and a child figure, elders and the young, teachers and students. We couldn't possibly name as many of those experiences that they have had together. They are truly unique to each pair and each situation. Taking an inhale and an exhale. And think back to when you were young. What did you call this motherly figure of yours? You might even whisper it now, either in the mind or out loud. Inhaling and exhaling with the words. Even the names that we call each other evolve over time. And in our inspiration, Nikki Giovanni describes a memory when she first consciously remembered seeing her mother. So quieting the mind, breathing to empty the headspace, releasing any tension that you might have built so far. Begin to call forward a time when you remember seeing your own mother or this mother figure that you are connecting with. A time when you really saw them. Perhaps you can look for a memory that had a sweetness to it early on in your relationship. Was there a sweet memory you can recall seeing this person who is so dear to you? Try and see if you can remember some of the details of that memory. Just like Nikki Giovanni remembering that her mother's hair was 3/4 of her height, or remembering that her mother was waiting and sitting in the dark. Can you see your own person through the eyes of a poet? Allowing yourself to wander into this sweet memory, seeing it with the poet's heart, and remembering some of the subtleties. With an inhale, diving even deeper, was there anything that this person ever said to you that was particularly meaningful, or that you received some sort of kindness or a gift, similarly to how Nikki received her mother's teaching her that poem? Anything that your mother figure had ever said to you that was in that kind of family of things. Maybe it was even just a presence or a touch. Can you remember it? Imagine it like a seed that was planted inside of you, the way that poem was planted inside of Nikki, who later came to write many, many poems of her own. Can you breathe a breath of gratitude for whatever sweetness, enormous or tiny, bright or faint, that you can recall about your human mother figure? Can you say thank you and thank you and thank you for that thing? Taking an inhale and an exhale. Returning back to the breath if you need. But imagining that you're bundling up this thank you, almost in like a nice, neat little package. Taking an inhale to really and truly feel it within your heart. And on the exhale, sending it on a thought beam. Sending that thank you like a prayer to her or him or they. Wherever they are, whether on this plane or another plane. Making that connection once more and feeling that gratitude within you. Once you feel you are complete, take 3 deep belly breaths here with no rush and no expectation. Allowing yourself to turn your attention back towards your own heart space, back towards your own body, and maybe even placing the palms of your hands over your heart center or anywhere else that might feel comfortable to you, to feel your heart, feel your body, and feeling that gratitude physically. See if you can give yourself a warm touch, a hug, and a thank you. Thanking yourself for being the human that you are, with all your blessings and your gifts and all of your scars. That complexity is something we all have in common. So feel it within you, bringing your practice around completely. Focusing the attention back on your breath. Inhales and exhales, anchoring yourself back into your present space. And take 3 slow, deep belly breaths here. Inhaling and exhaling. Staying here for a few more minutes. Allowing yourself this time. But when you are ready, allowing the eyes to gently peel open. But there is no rush whatsoever to get there. When you're ready, moving towards your journal and allowing yourself to write or draw anything that came through that seems important to you. Maybe anything that you saw or experienced. Anything new that you tuned into when you thought of this special person into your life, and maybe any of those subtle details that you noticed when remembering. So taking that moment, pausing this video here and spending that time with your journal. And when you're ready, we will all meet back here again. So normally at this point in time in an in-person circle, we would have our sharing time. But since this is a recording, we cannot share in real time with one another. So my option for you would be either to maybe share with yourself in this moment. Maybe whatever you journaled down, speak it aloud to yourself and let yourself hear those words that have come from your intuition and your guidance. If it feels okay, maybe reach out to even another person who might be doing this meditation with you. If you guys want to pause and have your own sharing time, that would be beautiful. And of course, this sharing time is an incredibly sacred and personal and private time. But if there is anything that you feel comfortable putting in the comment section below, just even about how you felt about this meditation, you don't have to get personal. We're always there for each other in the comment section as well. So since we are not having a share time together in real time, we will move on to our intention setting. So like I said, the new moon is a time for intentions. It's to set new intentions. And so what I suggest to do here is to maybe get a little piece of paper, an index card, a post-it note, or you can write it down in your journal. Something you'll see every day going through this moon cycle. And create an intention for yourself moving forward. So look after all of your notes from the journaling and think on anything that came to you from the meditation. And make that intention now. It could be that this moon cycle, I intend to do this thing, or I intend to maybe be this mother figure for someone else, or maybe to reconnect, or if it has to do with something that you were taught from this figure of yours, maybe it's reconnecting with that or teaching it to another. So your intention can be anything that you want it to be. And then you can post it somewhere, maybe on a bathroom mirror, somewhere you'll see it every day throughout this moon cycle. So once again, if you need a moment, please pause me here. And if not, we will move along. So to encircle, we'll do just one more short little heart meditation to kind of finish out our practice and finish out our intention setting. And I urge you too, if you do any kind of intention setting ritual, we'd love to hear about it. A great one would be maybe to plant some seeds. It's springtime, and it would also correspond with the earth element of Taurus. But whatever it is, we'll move into our heart meditation real quick just to close out our practice. So if you can, if you have written down your intention on a small piece of paper, maybe take it within your hand now. And if you didn't, that's okay. Just imagine your intention here in your hands, and we'll press it to our heart space. Taking an inhale and exhaling to allow the eyes to close. Breathing once more into that heart space. And imagining with every inhale, you're breathing in this new energy. And you maybe even begin to see this new energy in the form of a bright light. This light can be any color, any shade. But imagine with every inhale, you'll bring more and more of this light into the body, allowing it to gather in the heart. Feeling the heat of your palms on your chest over this heart space. Knowing your intention is there in the palm of your hand. The light in the heart space growing and enveloping your hands and your intention. And maybe ever so gently pressing the palms into the heart, as if we are writing our intentions on our heart. Keeping the eyes closed and releasing the hands. Checking in once more to that connection of mind, body, and spirit that we formed at the beginning of our practice. And just breathing here. Imagining that light in the center of your chest. And imagining the lights in the center of the chest of all those who are not only doing this practice with you, but those heart lights that are lit up all around the world in your communities. They all might be different shades and different colors, but they burn together. Taking one last deep inhale to pull your subconscious back in, anchoring yourself within. And exhaling to release everything inside of you. Releasing it out into the universe. Taking as much time as you need to, but when you are ready, allowing the eyes to begin to peel open. And then I'm going to grab our candle here, you can either grab your candle, or if you don't have a candle, just placing the prayer hands to heart center. And today we have honored not only ourselves, but those others who are in circle meditating with us, practicing with us. And we have honored our minds and our bodies, and that place within us that the entire universe dwells. A place that is love, peace, truth, and light. When I am within that place in me, and you are within that place in you, it is like we are one. That light in me sees and honors the light in you. And as I blow out our candle today, allow that wild spirit to continue to burn within you. Namaste. Thank you for tuning into this practice. I urge you, like I said, to let me know how you liked this in the comment section below. I do have another new moon circle meditation for the new moon in Aries that we performed last month, also on my YouTube channel and website. So if you missed that, make sure you go check it out if you would like another meditation practice to work on. And then I do have some other offerings here as well, like a few yoga classes and things of that nature. And then some other meditations too that aren't a full circle like the one you just experienced. Again, thank you for doing this and being a part of my community. There will be another new moon meditation for next month, so be sure you are following my page and you have liked my page so that you don't miss that when it comes out. And also, I hope to be able to get back to in-person circles soon, so also look out for that as well. Again, reach out if you have any questions, and thank you all for joining me.